Hi, I'm Lenny Magill with Glock Store, and if you've watched any of my videos, you know I'm a big believer in dry fire practice because the skills you can develop in dry fire will translate themselves out to the range, and obviously we can all dry fire more than we can shoot live fire because, one, it's less expensive, and two, you can do it anywhere, really, in a safe environment. Now, dry fire practice, in my mind, exercises several different things that are going to make you a better shooter. First and foremost is the manipulation of the gun, being able to handle the gun, be comfortable handling the gun, and then also at the same time presenting the gun to the target. Being able to bring the gun up and actually see the front sight as you bring it up into your sight picture. And more importantly, present the gun so that the front sight is lined up properly with the rear sight, so that when the gun comes up in the presentation, it is actually pre-aligned, ready to shoot. And that's really a key concept, that when you actually present the gun to the target, the sights are already lined up. And if you can master that skill, you can increase your speeds and your accuracy dramatically. And really, you can do that in dry fire practice. The other thing that you can improve with dry fire practice is your trigger finger speed and your strength of the trigger finger. And that's one of the reasons that I use this reset trigger for the Glock that we've developed. If you get in close, you'll see this is a standard, real Glock 19. It's got the little practice orange thing out here, just so everybody knows it's in the reset practice mode. But it is a real gun, and I can transfer it back to be a real gun just in minutes, really. So the reset trigger allows me to pull the trigger, and then it resets itself, so I can pull multiple shots. This gives me a lot of trigger time, which improves my dexterity, my speed, and my muscular strength with this trigger, so that I can pull the trigger, really fast, and get a lot of trigger practice in, and literally in a one dry fire session, come down and shoot 300, 400, 500 trigger pulls with a corresponding laser beam that will come out and verify my accuracy. After you dry fire practice for a bunch, it's good to see the front sight and good to make sure that they're pre-aligned, and really good to squeeze that trigger and get a good aggressive trigger pull on it that's going to enable you to be a faster shooter. But you still, at some point, want to verify your accuracy and verify your techniques. And that's what the laser is all about. So we tie that together as our reset trigger system, which is the magic bullet, which is the laser module, and of course the reset trigger we've been talking about, which allows me to pull the trigger multiple times. And we have a different video on this website that's going to show you how to install that trigger and show you more about it. But this training session is something that I want you to know that I do on a regular basis, and it really helps me when I go out to the range. It makes me a better shooter because I can maintain my skill level without being ankle deep in brass and spending a lot of money on the range, and also something I can do every day. So typically what I'll do is I'll come down and I'll set up targets like this, and they don't have to be anything elaborate. These are just regular pieces of paper that are stuck around. They're 5x7 at this point. And I'll play with distances, I'll play with movement, but I'll basically come up and get myself lined up and do singles, do doubles, and be able to access the front sight, access the presentation, practice my trigger pull, pop off rounds as much as I want. The key is that I'm getting trigger time, I'm getting practice, and I'm verifying that it's all working, because when I go out the range, I don't want to sit there and be fast but not hit the target. One of the techniques I was working on the other day that I really want to make sure that you think about when you're training, not absolute, this is what I do, is the left hand. And I really think about this left hand a lot when I'm shooting, especially for some of the speeds and what I'm trying to do. And one of the things that I want you to know is when I grab the gun with my right hand, which I'm right-handed, of course, I bring my hands, I've got fairly big hands, and I can wrap my hand all the way around. You can see how my fingers come all the way around like that. Or what I have found to be more effective for me is, instead of doing that, I want to bring my fingers back just a little bit so I have the strength because I have more strength on the tips of those fingers right there. And so I put my hand in all the way at the web of my thumb and my forefinger, but then I bring my fingers and I have a little gap right there. So it gives me more of a panel on the left side. Now what I do with that panel is that's where I put my left hand. All right? So if I brought my fingers all the way around, it's a little bit more, I don't have as much room there. So I come right about here, and then I have a big piece of left panel there. I can put my left hand on. Now with the left hand, as I wrap that fully around my right hand, and that engulfs my right hand, you'll see that my thumb even comes up on the trigger guard right there. And that's the grip. Now, the other thing that I do that I think is very effective for me is that I'll use that left hand as kind of a pointing device too, okay? So I'm pointing at the target, boom, okay? And so then, boom, I match up, and there's my trigger pull. So, if I think about that left hand not only as a support hand, but really as a dominant hand, because it wants to have more pressure on the gun than my right hand, because I want my trigger finger to be free so it can move fast. This left hand basically is a pointer as well. I want to come up and point with my thumb at the target, and wherever I point, I'm going to hit. And I've found that the more attention I pay to that left hand, and the placement of that left hand, and getting that left hand on the gun, and wrapping that left hand on, the more accurate I've become. It's just one of those things with practice, I've noticed that, wow, if I really pay attention to that left hand, I can be more accurate and I can be faster because I know the accuracy is there. I know that if I can lock that left hand in the right place, the gun is going to be lined up wherever I look at, wherever my line of sight is. The sights themselves are going to be in that line of sight, and I'm going to control the gun so that I can get up and do multiple shots and keep them on target because I'm controlling the gun. So that's one of the ways that I use the reset trigger. I do it a lot. I think it's a great device. And I think if you want to become a better shooter, this is one of the ways to help you get there. Thanks for watching. I'm Lenny Magill. We'll see you next time.